Pam Bondi didn't walk into that hearing expecting the room to freeze. But the moment she refused to answer the very first ethics question, everything shifted. You could almost feel the air tighten. Because when the nation's top legal authority won't give a straight yes or no on something as basic as an ethics disclosure, people don't just get curious, they get concerned. And what happened next didn't just expose tension. It exposed a pattern she seemed desperate not to talk about. She faced one question, so simple it should have taken 2 seconds. Had she ever been registered as a foreign agent under federal law? Instead of answering,
In February, you made a public claim that the Epstein client list was, quote, sitting on my desk right now for review, end of quote. You then produced already public information and no client list at a major media event hosted at the White House. Attorney General Bondi, why did you publicly claim to have the Epstein client list waiting for your review and then produce nothing relevant to that claim?
Senator Durbin, if you listen to my entire clip on that, I said I had not reviewed it yet, that it was sitting on my desk along with the JFK files, the Martin Luther King files, and I said I had not yet reviewed it. And if you see our memo on Epstein, you will see, excuse me, our memo on Epstein clearly points out that there was no client list, our July 6th memo. You also didn't let me respond to the HIDTA question. The budget transfers $196 million for high-intensity drug trafficking areas to the Office of Justice Programs, OJP. The Justice Department will continue to administer those grants under OJP in 2026.
Going back to the Epstein files, according to another whistleblower who made a protected disclosure to my office, you pushed the FBI to review approximately 100,000 Epstein-related records on an arbitrarily short deadline in March, and the FBI was directed to flag any documents that mentioned President Trump. Nothing came of that review until July when DOJ and FBI released an unsigned memo stating, quote, there's no incriminating client list. Why was the July 7th memo unsigned?
The July 7th memo came from the FBI and the Department of Justice. Director Patel answered those questions very clear. And, you know, Senator Durbin, I find it very interesting that you refused repeated Republican requests to release the Epstein flight logs in 2023 and 2024. You fought that. Did you take money from Reid Hoffman, campaign donations, who was a huge Epstein friend? Why did you fight for years? Why did you fight to not disclose the flight logs, Senator Durbin?
I can tell you I did not refuse. One of the senators here wished to produce those logs, and I asked her to put it in writing, and she never did.
Yeah, I think Senator Blackburn would quarrel with you on that.
Well, I will quarrel with you as to Reid, somebody that you mentioned I never heard of.
Reid Hoffman.
So who gave the order to flag records related to President Trump?
To flag records for President Trump?
To flag any records which included his name.
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you, Senator.
Eventually, you're going to have to answer for your conduct in this. And you won't do it today, but eventually you will. I yield, Mr. Chairman.
I got to
Mr. Chairman.
something here.
Mr. Chairman.
Pam.
Mr. Chairman, since Senator Durbin referred to me, I would really appreciate the opportunity to correct the record.
Proceed.
Because Senator Durbin knows I repeatedly asked for those flight logs. I brought up the subpoena. You even shut down the committee because you didn't want that, and you know I submitted that in writing, and you continue to misrepresent that, and I am not going to let that record stand.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Senator Durbin.
I just want to make it clear that the reason the committee business ended was that your side invoked the 2-hour rule. Point number 2 is I asked you if you wanted any documents like flight logs to put it in writing. You never did.
Yes, sir, I did, and your staff knows that I did.
No,
we'll submit once again
send me a copy
the information to you. We've done that several times, but we'll be happy to once again send it to you. I think you're
she tried rerouting the conversation, softening the context, narrowing the details, framing it like a tiny, unimportant footnote. But viewers caught something else entirely: hesitation. And hesitation at that level sparks suspicion. Only after being pressed hard did she finally admit it. Yes, she had been registered. And in that moment, the hearing took a turn that she probably did not expect, because the real shock wasn't the admission. It was what came immediately after. She was asked whether she had disclosed that registration during her confirmation process, another straightforward question. And again, silence, sidestepping, discomfort, until the truth cut through the room like a wire. No, she hadn't disclosed it. That's not a clerical oversight. That's the kind of gap that shakes confidence in the very institution she represents. When top officials leave out foreign ties, intentionally or not, it's not just a missing page. It's a missing layer of trust. And viewers watching this exchange couldn't help wondering, what else wasn't disclosed? Bondi pushed back, saying the topic came up during hearings. But the issue wasn't whether it was mentioned later. It was whether she proactively disclosed it when required. Those disclosure forms are not optional. They are the first line of defense against conflicts that can distort decision-making at the highest levels. Avoiding that line on paperwork isn't just a technicality. It's the kind of omission that makes the public lean forward and ask, why leave it out? And just when the exchange seemed heated enough, the questioning moved somewhere even more sensitive. It shifted to a deal involving a luxury aircraft, a massively expensive Qatar-owned plane that had been offered to the president. Dean asked Bondi if she had played any role in giving it legal approval. This was another moment where transparency would have mattered. Instead, Bondi shut it down instantly. No answer, no acknowledgement, nothing. But evasions only spark more questions. If the advice was clean and proper, why not simply confirm that? Why avoid a question that could have been cleared up in seconds? Some observers say her past association with Qatar may have complicated her ability to answer freely. Others claim it's nothing more than routine confidentiality. But the effect was the same. Silence where clarity could have settled everything. And that silence made the room lean in even further. Then came the crypto questions. At first glance, that detour may have seemed unrelated until it wasn't. The DOJ disbanded a major crypto enforcement team, the very unit responsible for tackling some of the most complex financial crimes. Combine that with the president publicly dabbling in memecoins, plus his son launching an exclusive, high-cost membership club, and suddenly the optics change. It becomes less about crypto and more about consistency. If you're enforcing ethics for the nation, you must show ethics in every decision, especially those connected to money and influence. Dean pushed this exact point. Were there concerns about profiteering, conflicts, or blurred lines between public decisions and private interests? Bondi dodged again, pivoting to unrelated talking points. And viewers saw the shift instantly. When someone is eager to talk until the topic gets too close to their own decisions, you don't need commentary. People notice the pattern themselves. But all of that was just build-up for the moment that stunned everyone watching. The timing question, the stock question, the April 2nd question. Dean laid out a timeline that, on paper, looked almost too precise. On the very same day that the administration announced a chaotic tariff policy that sent markets tumbling, Bondi reportedly sold more than $1 million worth of stock in Trump media. That stock dropped significantly in the days after. The implication wasn't stated outright, but the timing raised eyebrows. Was it coincidence? Was it informed judgment? Or was it something else entirely? Bondi insisted she took a loss, not a gain. And that may be true. But the core issue wasn't about numbers. It was about optics. When huge stock moves from top officials perfectly align with large policy shifts, people talk, people question, people speculate. And speculation, once unleashed, is almost impossible to reel back in. Rumors online suggest that some ethics officials were already uneasy about the blurred boundaries between Bondi's financial decisions and her advisory role. Others argue she followed all procedures correctly. But one thing is undeniable. In the public eye, perception is power. And perception in this case was not on her side. The hearing continued, but the tone never recovered. Questions became sharper. Answers became shorter. And by the time Bondi offered her final defense, that she followed ethics guidance, that she actually lost money, that her Qatar work was mentioned somewhere deeper in the documents, the damage was already done. Because the hearing had revealed something bigger than one disclosure issue or one stock trade. It exposed how fragile public trust becomes when top officials avoid clarity instead of offering it. This exchange wasn't about one conflict of interest. It wasn't about one missing form. It wasn't even about one foreign registration. It was about a pattern of hesitation at the exact moments when absolute transparency should be effortless. And the public sees that. They feel it. They understand exactly what it signals. When officials refuse to discuss their advice to the president, when they pivot away from financial questions, when they soften foreign ties in ways that don't match the seriousness of federal registration laws, it creates a picture that no amount of defensive testimony can erase. A picture where private dealings sit too close to public responsibilities. A picture where conflicts don't have to be proven. They only have to be possible to damage confidence. And the truth is, even if everything Bondi did was legally compliant, the perception gap still matters. Because trust isn't built on what's technically allowed. It's built on what's openly explained. That's why this hearing hit so hard. It wasn't shouting, it wasn't chaos, it wasn't theatrics. It was something much more unsettling. Unanswered questions sitting in plain sight. And when those questions touch foreign agents, legal advice, crypto decisions, private clubs, and perfectly timed financial moves, viewers don't forget, oh, here's the question left hanging in the air long after the microphones went silent. Did Bondi simply misunderstand the expectations of transparency, or did she understand them perfectly and choose not to meet them? In government, the difference between those two possibilities is everything. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, make sure to hit like, subscribe for more deep dive analysis, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the disclosure rules are strong enough? Or did this hearing expose a gap that needs to be fixed before it's too late?